Hello, sir. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to review your resume so quickly. I just wanted to let you know that I will be making you a resume. I have it in a Word format that I'll also be sending to you as well. So, just without having to go into your personal data, here's what I have so far. So I redacted the information on your resume. And the first thing that I'm seeing here, and again, this is just a quick snapshot. I do not know what jobs you're applying for, but I can give you an overall generalization of, if there's an administrative job or you're looking for compliance types of positions in your area, this is, what we would probably want to change for the better part of the private sector. And I think this would also help you in the military sector as well, whether it be the, you know, going for the VA or any hospital that you're looking to work with. So let's see, in your area, coding quality auditor. Okay. I don't know if you have any of these specific needs, but there's a couple of things that I'm looking at that you might be a fit for. So, right now, your main job, and one of the first things that I recommend is, let me delete that. Let me delete this. Delete this. Delete that. Delete that. So what I wanted to do here, without making it, and I apologize for taking so long, but what I'm doing right here is I'm going through your resume and I'm putting it into bullet point presentation. You have it in a narrative format. You're telling a story. In the corporate world and in any world right now, you really want to have bullet points. The bullet points are going to be quick snapshots of, hey, this is what I've done. This is how I do it. This is the methodology that I use, things of that sort. But you do not want really just a written statement because it doesn't give any of the information. As a recruiter, the first second when I see a resume and it says implement and manage what? What did you implement? You implemented and evaluated the privacy and freedom of information programs. Okay, but what does that mean, especially to the private sector? What does that mean to them? What systems did you utilize? Was it web based? Excel programs, SQL? Is it a proprietary software that you had to teach yourself? Those are all little bits that I would definitely like to talk to you about because it depends on the verbiage and how we would do that. But the first thing that I would do is just looking at this overall. So you implemented and managed, and let's say we're not getting into that. You implement and manage and evaluate Privacy and Freedom of Information Act programs. Or if it's not programs, it's documentation. Okay, how many of them did you get through a day? Was there a key KPI, a key point of interest, key data that you needed to get to, key performance indicator? So that KPI or that, metric, hey, I processed 50 applications a day. I didn't process them, I audited them. I audited them to see if they complied with the specific standards that we were looking for. That's different. Those are two different things that explain two different, well, from the person reading it as a snapshot, that explains two different things totally. It's like one of them could be data entry, the other one, you're a compliance auditor. That's a big difference. You're going through and saying, hey, I know I have expertise in reading legal documentation, and this doesn't fit. In the private sector, that's 20 different jobs right there. You could work in a healthcare facility, you could do audit reviews. So that's one of the things that I don't see here is that I don't know how much work you're doing in a day. I don't know what the value is of, hey, we get 1,000 freedom of information programs, or there's 10 programs, and I evaluate every day by distributing information, preparing facility specific guidances, reviewing facility processes. What does that mean to the person reading it? There's just very vague, like, hey, I did a bunch of stuff and it all had to do with this thing. And it's like, well, okay, what does that mean? You know, what systems were you using? Now, again, you have in your resume, and I'm going to go through this, a lot of technical stuff that may not transition or translate into the private sector. So what I would recommend here is going through Vista A, PDX, all these different softwares, and finding an alternative that that private sector companies utilize. Let's say at one of the hospitals, you're using a proprietary EMS system, electronic medical records system, an EMR. Well, okay, look at your EMR system, look at what it looks like, and then look at Epic, look at Sage, look at all the different systems that corporate clients and private sector clients utilize, and then see how you can say, hey, I have experience in electronic medical record systems. You don't have to name it because you may not have direct experience in Epic or whatever it may be, but those are things you can learn. That's the easy part. You know how the system works. So that's something that I would bring up tremendously. Like, did you implement and manage Excel spreadsheets in here? You say you have Microsoft Office, but I don't see it in anywhere. And remember, no one's going to assume something that you and I both know is common sense. No one's going to automatically go, oh, okay, he implemented this, freedom of information system. He probably used Outlook, Excel, Microsoft Word, maybe even PowerPoint presentations, but it's not in there. And I also would take it away from the narrative format and put it into more bullet points, like you'll see in the resume that I'm sending you. So that is going to be person specific to you, but anybody that's looking at this that has a resume that has a lot of information that they're trying to get, you have to remember to read in between the lines. If you implemented something, how long did it take you to implement? What did you manage? I managed the system or people. Did you work with other colleagues when you were managing and evaluating this and distributing the information? Who did you send it to? Who did you work with? Was it a director? Was it a manager, CEO, CFO, COO, CPA, accountant firm, whatever it was? So that's some of the things that I brought up in my questions here is, what does preparing facility specific guidance mean? What was the guidance that you gave? Was it regulatory guidance? Was it, you know, compliance guidance? And if it was compliance guidance, what compliance regulations were you specifying to? Was it HIPAA compliance? Because if it is, then hey, put that there. There's a lot of this information missing. Now, again, you and I can have an in-depth conversation over the phone, but this is just a quick snapshot that I wanted to give with a blind review, just to give you some details to get you started. So that's something I would look at. And now, again, you have here on your resume in the job board, you have this up to 2008. That's as far as I would go back. You do not need to go back to anything earlier. And then on the education section, I would only put what degree you have. If you have some college, or like myself, I have an associate's degree. Don't have a bachelor's degree, but I put it on there just because it's an associate's degree. It doesn't look great, doesn't help me. I could leave it off, but at least they know that I have a college degree. Now, for some people, they would say, hey, you got to put that in there because it's important. You got an associate's degree. Why not? But if you only have some college, take it out. There's no reason to put that in there because it's unfinished. There's nothing that's going to benefit you from showcasing that. So that's something there that I would definitely recommend taking out. I took it out of the resume that I'm going to send you. And then the same thing goes along for the second job. So again, the questions that I have in the first job were, In your first position, how many FOIA requests did you go through in a day? And if it's not specifically requests, then what do you mean by implemented and managed FOIA programs? The most people aren't going to understand when you're insurance compliance and federal directives. What compliance are you following and what are you doing? Is it data entry or is it legitimately like close to, um, paralegal type mentality or something of that sort, or is it like, hey, no, I was just coding on a back end in the system, making sure that, hey, this person didn't follow this process. I eliminated or deleted or removed things. So a little bit more breakdown or a little bit more information in that. And again, we don't want it to be verbose, explaining exactly what you wanted to do. You need to say, hey, I went to the store and I got food, to went to store, and that's went to food store. Yeah, that's all you need to explain. You don't need to explain that I went to the store and got food. And again, this is just a, metaphor for what we're trying to do in this circumstance. Is we're trying to eliminate all the useless words like I went to the store, I got food, provided groceries to colleagues. That's it. And that explains, oh, he went to the food store and he got food for people. If that's part of your job, like I went into a system. What kind of system? Was it a database? Is it an online system that you didn't have to do anything to? You just logged in and then the data was there for you? That's different. That's going to give you a little bit more experience or knowledge in a certain section. Because when a recruiter or somebody is reading this, you've got 30 to 45 seconds to give them a good snapshot, a really quick review of, all right, here's the job that I have in hand. Here's what this person has and is telling me. So it wants to be quick, concise, but yet very informative, very good information. So it's got to be very concise. Right now you have information, but there's no sustenance to that info. What I would look at here is, what does periodic evaluation mean? So you went through, is it weekly, monthly? And who are you evaluating things for? Was it for a director? Was it for the manager? Was it for a supervisor? What did your supervisor do with the information? What was the job that your supervisor was doing that they needed a information specialist for FOIA requests? So again, this is all stuff that we can go and talk about together, but just giving you a quick snapshot, without knowing who you are as a person and what happened. This is what I'm looking at automatically. And the same thing with the second job. So we have health systems, from what I can gather. One of the first questions I'm looking at is, are you certified in ICD-10? Because if you are, I wouldn't have known that. There's no information on it. Says that you worked with ICD-9, but I don't know if you're certified. I don't know if you took a course, completed a course, or have any of that information. How did you learn that? Was it self-taught? Because if it's self-taught, it doesn't help as much, but it's something that we can use very, very eloquent ways of saying that without saying self-taught. Just like if you're a volunteer at a place, we don't want to say that. When for younger people in the industry, I always tell them intern, consultant, different verbiage that you can use that shows, oh, they're an experienced person, and I'm not going to think of that word in a negative way. Because when you say the word volunteer or intern, they go, he doesn't have an experience. They don't know what they're doing. They're just an intern. But if you put consultant, you're like, oh, wow, wait, that sounds special. So it's not, you don't want to lie. There is no lying on your resume, but there is using the proper verbiage to elicit a understanding of your skills and capabilities and telling the right story. And that's part of what I think we can do together. So in this area, when you improved efficiencies, what was the result? So if it says, hey, I implemented recommendations to change reimbursement structures from let's say if they were doing Excel based accounting processing and invoicing, and I implemented QuickBooks strategy. Again, making this up, that's not what you may have done, but it's just giving them the information of here's the system I used or the methodology I used, and here's the result. So if you can say in this specific junction right here, improved efficiencies. So in your second job here, applied analytical methods to operating procedures, work processes, or automated systems in order to improve efficiency and effectiveness. A lot of word salad. It sounds cool, but it doesn't give me any information. What systems did you use? What analytical methods did you use? If you, quickly do a research or a Google on analytical methods, you have compliance critical methodology. And you can look at research studies. There's so many places that we can get this where you had a proactive approach, so losses tally close to 1 billion a year in healthcare. So you can say, hey, our department, I implemented analytical methods to assist our team with, we were originally losing $60,000 a week. And my analytical approach, following the compliance regulation and communicating with these specific people, I was able to recover $80,000 a month or whatever it is. And now taking that information and breaking it into bite-sized pieces. So something like this could be utilized. What did you say in your resume? Analytical methods. Sorry for the spelling correct. It spelled itself. Utilize analytical methodologies to recover X amount of insurance misentered. Not a good word to put it. Misentered insurance claims. Implemented a proactive approach to ensure compliance, regularly uncovered $40 compliance errors, saving $60,000 per quarter. Again, I'm making that up, but just to give you the idea of where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to instill is that if you say I did something, well, how did you do it and what was the result of it? If it's like the why, the who, and the what. Why was this needed? And if you're like, well, I implemented this because the why is there was collection issues, compliance issues costing us X. So I did Y and the result was Z. So it's like breaking that down. And again, if this doesn't make sense, we can always have a conversation, whether it be on the phone, Zoom, voice chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But I just wanted to give you initial thoughts on what I'm seeing and what we can change from your resume. And then, of course, for the most part, what systems did you prepare your reports for upper management? Was it Excel? Was it database information? Like what Why did you get this information and then have to provide reports to your upper management? There's no why there, and there's no who. It's just, what do you mean upper management? Was it the manager of a specific department? Was it the manager of collections, manager of um, compliance, manager of accounting? Like, we don't have any ins in there of who did you work with during your time. We understand that you gave something to upper management, but what was it that you gave? And why were you working with that specific manager as well? At the same time, I can help you with mincing the words so that it's not like, hey, I did this for this person and we did that for that person. I used this system, I used that system, and I did XYZ. We can take that information and then I can distill it into very key words like I was doing earlier, like this. Utilized analytical methodologies to assist the accounting department or the insurance claims department, or implemented a proactive approach to ensure compliance team regularly uncovered 40 errors in medical record system. If it's not a medical record system, that doesn't matter. We just want to utilize a non-acronym based government system so that the private sector knows that you are in a Oracle based system, a SAP style based system. And you might say, hey, Sean, I didn't work in SAP. Yes, but the system that you are using is very much similar to an SAP system or Oracle system. It may not be similar to Epic, but we want to say medical documentation system or electronic medical system or ICD-9 coding based system. We want to give them some ins and outs. So I think that's a good place to start. We can again have a conversation. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And again, when applying to corporate positions, we want to remove any of the government based systems and put information that speaks towards them. And then on top of it, we want to get away from the narrative based format and do more bullet points and more information and data driven resume is going to get you a little bit more responses. Whether it gives you more responses or not, you're at least going to have more information there so that when a person reads your resume within 30 to 40 seconds, they can get a snapshot of whether you're good for the job or not. Now, of course, we're going to hope that results in more interviews, more opportunities, but at the same time, right now the job market is very competitive, so that's not going to be an indicator of how good your resume is. Right now, we want to get your resume just to a better, more efficient standpoint, and then we can worry about, well, wait, what jobs are we applying to and how do they fit to our resume first or second? Right now, first we want to make a more concise resume, and then we can focus on what jobs you're applying to and how that you may need to make different resumes for different jobs that you're applying to that have specific or different keywords. Yeah, perfect. I hope this was of some help. I greatly, again, appreciate the opportunity to help you in any way, shape, or form. If you have any questions, any concerns, don't hesitate to email me back, and I look forward to staying in contact. Again, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.